All right, hello, good evening. Actually, I tried to record this morning, but it didn't work. So I'm trying it again. All right, well, this morning I read Jude and the first 5 chapters of Revelation. And if I could be honest, I was like, man, I don't want to talk about Revelation. This stuff is so heavy, and what I get is probably very, very surface. But I'm still going to talk about it. In Revelation, what I got today actually is that I noticed a pattern. I noticed that, the first thing I noticed was that in Revelation chapter 1, verse 11, Jesus says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. And what you see, write in a book and send it off to the 7 churches which are in Asia. So I saw that actually within that one command, there were actually steps and sort of like almost 3 individual commands. The first was, you need to see. So, often we think of that as just with our eyes, but spiritually see. And I think that all of the other senses, in a way, they kind of see just in according to that sense. So hearing is a form of taking information in. So we're taking information with all of our senses. So yes, John is having visions in Revelation, and so Jesus wants him to see. Then he wants him to write a book. So he's like, this needs to go down on paper. This isn't just for you, just for your edification. And then this is also to send. I need you to send this book. I need you to circulate the book, because there could be revelations that we get that are, personal, and we write in a journal and we call it a day. But Jesus here specifically is like, no, I need you to see, I need you to write, and I need you to send, which I thought was interesting. But then in chapter 2, I noticed something, and to be honest, I didn't notice it at first. I noticed it with the second letter that he wrote. So the first letter, and of course that's the dog in the background, yay. The first letter he writes is to Ephesus, and that's the way chapter 2 starts off, right? But then he writes the second letter to, what I'm guessing how you say it is, Smyrna? Smyrna. And what I noticed was that he says, and to the angel of the church of Smyrna, this is verse 8, write, these things says the first and the last, who was dead and came to life. And I was like, Then I went back a few verses, and I saw, okay, so then to the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things are he who holds the 7 stars in his right hand and who walks in the midst of the 7 golden lampstands. So I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, when Jesus gives the commandment, this is what I want you to say and write to the angel of the church, to a specific church. He's like, this is who I want you to say is saying these things. I need you to be specific and give them characteristics and attributes of me, so that they can understand that I'm going to be with them in this. What I mean is, so to the angel of Smyrna, because this is where I first noticed it, he said to them, these things says the first and the last, who was dead and came to life. He then goes on to say, I know your works. And that's how he starts off. But after the attributes, after revealing more of his character, after opening himself up to more things, he says to the church, I know your works, which I love. But pause on that. Specifically to Smyrna, I know your works, tribulations and poverty, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. So do not fear of those things which you are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you might be tested, and you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful until death, and I will give you the crown of life. So when I go back and I read that, okay, he's letting them know, you're going to suffer. There's going to be tribulations. There's going to be prison. You're going to be in there for 10 days. But remember my characteristics, essentially. Remember my characteristics, that I'm the first and the last, and was dead and came back to life. Remind them of my resurrection. Remind them that I defeated death and I came back. And so this is something you should hold on to as you're going to be experiencing suffering and tribulation, is remember these things, which I thought was so great. So the principle here is that God is always revealing characters and attributes. That's so much of what this book holds for us, is this revelation exposing us to like, what is God like? What is his character? What can we see here? What can we rely? Because we know that he's unchanging. And so if he was like this in this moment, if this is a characteristic and an attribute of God, then I know that I can hold on to this. So I love that. And if you go through and you read each individual letter, you start to notice, okay, he's giving these attributes. So for the next church, Pergamos, he says, these things says he who has the sharp two-edged sword. You know that's about to be a lot of correction there. If he needs to let you know he has a sharp two-edged sword. Eek, okay. I know your works and where you dwell, where Satan's throne is, and you hold fast to my name and do not deny my faith, even in the days in which Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was killed among you where Satan dwells. So he's saying, I know where you're at. You're right there where Satan is at. You're cohabitating, you're commingling, but I got something for you. I got this sharp two-edged sword. So every correction thing that he's pointing out, he also is letting you know, revealing the character of I am what can realign you. If you've fallen out of alignment, I'm what can realign you. If you're already walking in this, continue along these paths. You would have to read it for yourself to see what's different churches, what he's saying. But also the big takeaway is he knows our works, and that's not just works of just mindless doing. That's also works and contribute, like motive, the heart posture. He knows that, because this is why when James talks about works, and when the Bible talks about works, and there's so much back and forth about works, is because works for how do you know someone is being faithful is by works. How do you know someone has a good character or is walking righteously and trying to walk this thing with God? There's fruit, right? We have fruit of the Spirit. So if you don't see any fruit, then you know, okay, well, how do you know this is an apple tree? Well, they're producing apples. So there's all these things going on, and we won't know unless we start to see fruit. And now we need to see fruit, but God knows all of our works, and he knows all of our heart posture. So that is something that we have to take into consideration. So with that, I say Revelations, all about it. And I got to 4. The last thing that I want to say is that in Revelations 4, I went to sleep last night and I woke up with this song in my heart, and the lyrics that I was singing when I woke up that were like in my head on repeat, it's the year of the open door. From Aware Worship, the song is Make a Way. And I read Revelations 4 and verse 1 says, after these things I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. Now, I don't even fully know what that means, but it just felt so comforting to me. It felt so comforting to me to know, to have this idea that we are possibly in a year of an open door. And what does that mean? That there are going to be blessings that are flowing, all these things, that what we bind in heaven, we bind on earth. What we loose in heaven, we loose on earth. We don't know. And so I'm so incredibly grateful for this time. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, bye.